Welcome back, listeners, to Sandman Stories Presents, a folklore podcast where I read you to sleep or until the next story. I'm your host, Dustin. Today we are back in the book of Ghanaian folklore written down by W.H. Barker. In the first story, we learn how to bull yourself out of a court case. In the second, we learn why rams live at home, while leopards live in the forest. And in the final story, we learn about biting the cat that feeds you, and why leopards are like NASCAR drivers. Okay, let's begin. The Robber and the Old Man. In a big town there lived a very rich gentleman. The fame of his wealth soon spread. A clever thief heard of it, and was determined to have some for himself. He managed to hide himself in a dark corner of the gentleman's room, while the latter was counting his bags of money. As soon as the old man left the room to fetch something, the thief snatched up 2 bags and escaped. The owner was astonished when he returned a few minutes later to find 2 bags missing. He could find no traces of the thief. The next morning, however, he chanced to meet the robber just outside the house. The dishonest man looked so confused that the rich man at once suspected that he was the thief. He could not, however, prove it, so he took the case before a judge. The thief was very alarmed when he heard this. He sought a man in the village and asked his advice. The wise man undertook to help him, if he would promise to pay half of the money when he got off. This the robber at once said he would do. The old man then advised him to go home and dress in rags. He must ruffle his hair and beard, and behave as if he were mad. If anyone asked him a question, he must answer, "Moo." The thief did so. To every question asked by the judge, he said, "Moo, moo." The judge at last grew angry and dismissed the court. The thief went home in great glee. Next day the wise man came to him for his half of the stolen money, but he could get no answer but moo from the thief, and at last in despair he had to go home without a penny. The ungrateful robber kept everything for himself. The wise man regretted very much that he had saved the thief from his just punishment, but it was now too late. The end. Okay, and story number 2, The Leopard and the Ram. Once upon a time, a ram decided to make a clearing in the woods and build himself a house. A leopard who lived nearby also made up his mind to do the very same thing. Unknown to each other, they both chose the same site. Ram came one day and worked at the clearing. Leopard arrived after Ram had left, and was quite surprised to find some of his work done already. However, he continued what Ram had begun. Every day both were surprised at the progress made in their absence, but concluded that fairies must have been helping them. They gave them thanks and continued with their own tasks. Thus the matter went on, the two working alternately at the building and never seeing one another. At last the house was finished to the satisfaction of both. The two prepared to take up their abode in their new home. To their great astonishment, they met. Each told his tale, and after some friendly discussion, they decided to live together. Both Leopard and Ram had sons. These 2 young animals played together while their parents hunted. The leopard was very much surprised to find that evening that his friend Ram brought home just as much meat or venison from the hunt as he himself did. He did not dare, however, to ask how the other obtained it. One day before setting out to the hunt, Leopard requested his son to find out, if possible, from the young ram, how his father managed to kill the animals. Accordingly, while they were at play, little Leopard inquired how Father Ram, having neither claws nor sharp teeth, succeeded in catching and killing the beasts. Ram refused to tell unless young Leopard would promise to show his father's way also. The latter agreed. Accordingly, they took 2 large pieces of plantain stem and set it out into the woods. Young Leopard then took 1 piece and placed it in position. Then, going first to the right, then to the left, bowing and standing on his hind legs, and peeping at the stem just as his father did, he took aim and sprang towards the stem and tore it. Young Ram then took the other piece and placed it in position. Wasting no time, he went backward a little way, took aim, then ran swiftly forward, pushing his head against the stem and tearing it into pieces. When they had finished, they swept the place clean and went home. In the evening, the leopard obtained all the information about the hunt from his son. The latter warned him that he must always be careful when he saw the ram go backward. He kept this in his mind, and from that day, he watched the ram very closely. Some time afterward it rained, making the floor of the house very slippery. The leopard called the ram, as usual, to dine with him. As he was coming, the ram slipped backward on the wet floor. The leopard, seeing this, thought that the other was about to kill him. Calling to his son to follow, he sprang with all his might over the wall of the house and fled into the woods. The ram called him back, but he did not listen. From that time, leopards have made their abode in the woods, while rams have remained at home. The end. Okay, and the third story, why the leopard can only catch prey on its left side. At one time, leopards did not know how to catch animals for food. Knowing that the cat was very skillful in this way, Leopard one day went to Cat and asked her very politely if she could teach him the art. Cat readily consented. The first thing Leopard had to do was to learn how to hide himself among the bushes by the roadside so that he would not be seen by any animal passing by. Next, he had to learn how to move noiselessly through the woods. He must never allow the animal he chased to know that he was following it. The third great principle was how to use his left paws and side in springing on his prey. Having taught him these three things, Cat requested him to go and practice them well. When he had learned them thoroughly, he could return to her, and she would give him more lessons in hunting. Leopard obeyed. At first he was very successful and obtained all the food he wanted. One day, however, he was unable to catch anything at all. Being very hungry, he thought to himself what he could have for dinner. Suddenly, he remembered that the cat had a quite large family. He went straight to her home and found her absent. Never thinking of her kindness to him, Leopard only remembered that he was hungry. He ate all of her kittens. Puss, on discovering this dreadful fact, was so angry that she refused to have anything more to do with the great creature. Consequently, the leopard has never been able to learn how to catch animals that pass him on the right side. The end. I really liked the first story. It was odd that it ended without the thief getting any punishment, but still, it was funny. And the second has echoes in a Brazilian story about animals living together. I think it's a ram and a tiger in that one. Or a stag and a tiger, I think. And the final story was interesting. I was surprised that he went for a meal of kittens, but he got what he deserved. I look forward to more stories from this book, but I think we are quickly moving towards the end of the stories, so I'll have to get another book soon, maybe this fall. And the podcast shoutout is to Japan Distilled. Do you like sake? Shochu? Then you need to check out Steve and Chris and their sound guy Rich. They have decades of tasting experience and can give you the history of each brewery or spirit that they cover. It's super fun and a good insight into Japanese spirits by a couple of guys who really know their stuff. And if you like their show as much as I do, go and give them a like, a rating, and a review. And the listener shoutout is to Bamako Mali. I'm still not sure how someone in the city found my podcast, but I'm glad that they at least listened to one episode. Bamako is the capital of the country of Mali, which is the legacy of the Malian Empire. The city has seen the likes of the great Mansa Musa, who traded salt for gold, and then messed up the whole gold market when he went on Hajj and flooded it with gold gifts. Further up in the country, there's also Timbuktu, which is a famous trading town and a famous library that I would love to go see. Now, people in Bamako have lived in this city since the Paleolithic era, and of course it was also colonized by France during the ransacking of Africa by the European powers. It did make me smile when they dropped French from their official languages just recently. And so today I'll be attempting the main language, Bambara. To the listener in Bamako I say, Onisi and Onisu. Thank you and good night.